Welcome back, everyone, to another Creative Artist Podcast. My name is Andrew. That's Mike, Leon. We're all here. The crew's here. And today we're going to be talking about risk taking and why it's important and how it can completely change your creative work. And we're going to be focusing on the power of stepping out of your comfort zone and the risk that Todd Phillips took with Joker 2. We couldn't help ourselves. We saw the movie. We saw the hate. We saw the Rotten Tomato review. 32%. I don't think there's been that worse of a review.
Is that real quick? Can you clarify something about Rotten Tomato? Is it 32% of people liked it?
I think it's a 32% rating. So that's an F. That's not a passing
So it's
grade.
not like 32% of the people that saw it liked it.
No. I don't know, actually. That's a good point. We should call our Rotten Tomatoes.
What's the metric here?
Yeah.
32% is bad, for
sure.
Yeah.
Not great. But we want to talk about taking a risk and taking a good swing because we thought Todd Phillips took a massive swing with this movie.
And full disclosure, too, if you're listening and you haven't seen it yet, we're about to tell you everything. So.
I'm about to ruin the hell out of this movie for you. But yeah, let's get it right into it. So why is risk even necessary? I mean, I just want to start there because a lot of high profile music and artists artists in music and film and other domains have shared their perspectives on risk and how important it is to taking it. And I think it's important to share why Todd Phillips may have taken this risk. Okay. You know?
Well, I think to learn that, or at least to shed light on that.
Yeah.
We got to start at the first one.
Mm-hmm.
So you liked the first Joker movie.
Oh, loved it.
It was, I thought, a work of art.
I was so dark coming out of the theater.
So what was it that you liked about the first one?
This is just I think this is going to say more about me as a person, but I loved the realism behind it. It just felt so real, where I was empathizing and understanding and feeling everything Arthur Fleck was going through.
Right.
Like that part where he's like, "Time to punch in," and he just punched the clock till he broke it. I thought, I was like, wow, that's a man that gets me.
I feel similarly in that, like, I watched the first one and if I left feeling uncomfortably sick because I'm like, man, I really did empathize with what he was struggling with, his character was struggling with. And I saw how slippery of a slope it was for him to turn that corner to become a villain or to just go down a dark path.
It makes you wonder how many people in life are just hanging on by a string and can just snap. And I don't like how he seduced such a large population of people just to go into chaos. It makes me wonder about our current climate and how we could easily go into that.
Well, you look at it like in the first movie. Ready? Here we go. Spoilers.
Movie, hold on. I hate when people say spoiler alert and it came out 4 years ago and you're like,
all right, it's not a spoiler alert.
We'll
get to the spoilers. For the first movie.
Yeah.
When he's getting attacked on the street by kids and other people.
It's a clown, yeah.
You know, like he's clearly this has been going on for his whole life and it's a thing that he's been struggling with. That's the way they're trying to set up the story. And ultimately he hits a point where he's like, that's it. I'm going to defend myself. And then he finds himself in another situation where adults are beating the crap out of him.
Yeah.
And he finally stands up for himself and takes action and like tries to protect himself and he kills somebody.
Yeah.
And then one person turns into three really fast. And because he doesn't know what to do with this and he's in trouble. He's a guy that needs help. And no one's helping him. So he tried to help himself and then just boom, turn this corner.
Yeah.
And like, man, that could just happen to regular people, and likely that does happen to regular people.
I think it's such a good commentary on what people deal with in real life, and I think that's why I liked it so much because I could feel a lot of that pain myself, you know, going through it. Anyway, Joker 1 was I almost cursed.
Too soon.
It was fantastic, but Joker 2, took a huge risk here.
What's the difference? I mean, we know the difference, right?
Yeah.
But like, what was the thing that separated this movie from the first one? Because the first one was prolific.
Just a completely different approach. This one's a musical, right? So the tone is similar, where it is still grounded in reality until the music starts, right? But that is kind of what musicals do. It's like, well, certain musicals, right? Like we play out a scene that kind of moves the story along forward, and then the song typically will help move carry the story forward, unless it's a play with music, because then it's in between. Which I we can kind of get into that a little bit, but I just want to talk about like what it's necessary to take risks,
They took a
huge risks, and it's fair to say that Todd Phillips, the size of the risk that he took is comparable to the size of the franchise he was working with. Because these people love the Joker. In fact, I find it a red flag if you are obsessed with the Joker. I think that's kind of, you're probably falling into one of those people that dress up like him and go to his actual public hearing. You know?
Well, so we have actually mutual friends that are really passionate about like the Batman franchise and the Joker stuff. I'm thinking about Dylan.
Okay, our buddy Dylan, he's
Yeah.
another musician in town. Yeah, he loves Marvel.
So he went to see it, and he's telling me about his experience, and he was just so upset that they tried to hide it, that the fact that it was a musical, and that he was caught off guard. And like, if you had just told me it was a musical and I knew that going in, I would have been okay with it. But because I was, expecting this one thing, and then I went in there and you delivered this other thing, I'm outraged.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think if you knew you were going into it with a musical, you might have been able to accept it. But I think even then, it's such a nuanced, position. Like, I think I call him Todd, like he's my pal, Todd, the director.
We'll have him on.
Todd, my buddy. So when I was talking to Todd on the Rotary yesterday, I just think it seemed like a selfish, like this one was for him, one for you. They say there's a quote like in the business, 2 for them, 1 for me. This is his one.
Yeah.
I wanted to make this movie. So it was important for him to take a risk, right? I think it's necessary. You see tons of people take risks all the time, artists at this massive level of influence, whether it's David Bowie, or Lady Gaga. They've reinvented themselves. They have these alter egos. They take a massive amount of risks. And actually there's a quote that I found by Lady Gaga, who's built a phenomenal career about pushing boundaries and embracing unconventional parts of her. But she goes, when you make or write or create, it's really your job to have mind-blowing, irresponsible, condomless sex with whatever idea it is you're writing about at that time. So really leaning in to immersing yourself into the unknown. That's where true creativity comes from. And this is, I think, pretty much embodying that. Like you go into you have a huge hit with the first movie, and then in the second one, you just wind up and just try to hit it out of Wrigley Field.
Well, we didn't actually talk about this. Did you like it? Did you like the movie? Did you like the risk that was taken?
I liked Joker too.
I freaking loved it.
This is the podcast that is the only people that could like that movie. I liked it. You said you loved it.
I loved it.
Let's find out the difference between the two.
Okay. I loved it because of the context of why it was a musical. Right now, everybody's, that has seen it, that's angry, is like, it's a musical and I'm angry about it. But you're missing, I feel like people are missing why it was a musical. Like, we're so upset that it is a musical that the context of why it is lost. But you're essentially living in his head. This is a man that needs help. And the musical is the thing that's going on in his head. That's literally how he's playing out life. Just like in the first movie, how they manifested that as just like his hallucinations,
right? With
him and the girl that he was stalking. Like there was like scenes where they're laughing and having fun together, and it was all in his head. So this is just a deeper dive into what's going on in his head, specifically now in this isolation of prison. So it's not like he's at home and he's got his mom and he's got these normal hallucinations, but it's like another layer deeper. Like you're removed completely from society. You're in prison and alone.
Yeah. It's something to be said too about the contrast. And this is again, I mean, this is a creative artist podcast, so we're gonna dig deep into this. And I just think that the dichotomy, no, that's not the right word. The contrast of having a crazy person in some sort of a psychosis who has music playing in their head all the time, which is something beautiful. I loved that. And it was kind of shared throughout the whole thing, especially in that world of Gotham City that's kind of crumbling from the outside in. It just feels that way. And he's got this beautiful music that's kind of talking to him in these most really high-strung situations.
It's a symphony of crazy.
Oh, I love it. You people missed the mark on Joker. You missed it. You missed the mark on Joker 2.
It should be 82 Rotten Tomatoes, not 32.
Now, here's the thing I will say. Now, the movie has flopped at the box office, right? It came in at the opening weekend, came at $37 million.
And how much was it supposed to make? Or what did they spend on it?
The budget is $200 million.
Woo!
So we missed the mark there. Just
That's
by a little.
Yeah.
Small margin. That's not even calling for, I don't even know what the marketing budget is, because the bigger the movie, you got to think they're going to put some behind it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to boost our social posts, our ones that are going viral. So, but the movie Joker 1 was such a hit that, and I don't even think it's just because it's Joker or sequels. I think when you have something like the Joker, a franchise that everyone's known and loved for so long, it's got to be exhausting to come back to the table to create something again, right? To catch lightning in a bottle, if you will, to kiss the brass ring one more time. It's got to be exhausting to write the movie, to create the world of Gotham City again. It's got to be exhausting to act Joker. I mean, I was watching Joaquin. It just looked exhausting to get into that shape, It's not easy is what I'm getting at. So you gotta, in order to go anywhere with this, to catch lightning in a bottle, you gotta go somewhere completely different. Kind of like Gaga was saying, you gotta really embrace and immerse the unknown. And I think a musical, I was down for that.
Well, and the other thing to acknowledge with this too is that the pieces in between the musical acts are the soul of the film, just like the first film was. Like if you're looking at the cinematography of everything, it's freaking beautiful.
Yeah,
I mean that is just as artistic and powerful as the first film. The acting that's going on between the musical numbers, like that dialogue and script, is just, to me, is just another level. Like I was watching for that, and once I acknowledged, like, okay, this is a musical, I got it. Like I'm in, and I kind of had an idea that it was going to be anyway, because if you listen to the trailer, all the movie trailers, I think there's a couple of them that actually have him singing in the background. So it was like when it's not that I knew that it was going to be musical, but when it was, I was like, okay, I'm not surprised, because he's definitely prepping for this. But the acting in the film in between those things is just breathtaking.
Yeah, it is moving. Absolutely. I was a lot of times if I don't buy, I buy usually a lot of acting. By that I mean, if it maybe the scene's okay and maybe they're not the strongest actor, my brain still follows the scene and I don't really pay too much attention to it. But when it's really good, I completely toss it out the window. I forget about it and I focus on composition. Focus on how the director's framing it now, or lighting or something. But
all of those things I thought were 10 out of 10.
Of course. How did you like the composition of them talking in between the glass at the prison, and she marks it with the lipstick on the one side and he just puts his face in it?
It's
well done, Todd.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's so funny. I left the theater being like, oh, he won an Academy Award, right? For Best Actor for that.
Yeah, he did.
I left thinking they don't want to do the same thing. They're trying to win Best Musical now.
That would be hilarious.
Like
his ego is just like, I need to sweep a category.
We already did that. So let's try something different. Let's go win this other thing real quick.
You said you were walking out of theater. Let me ask you, was the theater crowded when you watched it?
Yeah, we went on like the second day of opening weekend.
And what was people are talking about people walking out? Did you see people walk out? Did you see people's reactions?
Yeah.
What was it like?
Everybody around us when we stood up and left the theater after the credits, were just over vocalizing. Like, I just didn't think it was going to be a musical. Like, it's
Really?
literally that phrase just a bunch of times.
I have two things. One, I don't think this movie is made to sit in a theater of a bunch of people. I mean, yes, it is made to sit in a theater with a bunch of people in an audience. Yeah. But when I watched it, empty theater completely. It's just me and a medium popcorn and my phone to take notes, and I'm watching it. Because some of those songs you don't want to enjoy with people. I kind of liked being alone and watching Joker sing me a song. Not that great, by the way. But like, that's it's an acting choice, because he could when he was on the Murray Show, he was crushing the vocals. But I just don't know if the movie is made, or not that it's not made, but if it doesn't watch as well if you're on your own, because I think it's a very individual.
So you think
experience.
The movie about a guy suffering in isolation is best viewed in isolation?
There it is.
There we go.
We'll clip that, by the way. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That is the way. Also, number 2, all those people walking out were saying, I didn't know it was a musical. That guy, you know who he is.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like American audiences are a little lazy.
Yes.
And we're a little too childish.
Well, it goes
we
back.
want big boom boom. I want F-16s. I do want F-16s. I love Top Gun 2. I cried watching it.
What do you want? Steve Martin in an F-16, or
Steve Martin in Key West getting mixed up with the wrong people and doing coke in the bathroom.
It kind of plays back to like not all art is meant for everyone.
No.
And clearly this is not meant for a lot of people, but I think that the people that really do enjoy art would enjoy this. Can I ask you just one last thing about this?
Yeah, sure. What is it?
Thank goodness. Okay. Did you like the way that it ended? Or what did you think about the way it ended? Both questions. 2 questions.
Dramatic pause.
Mm-hmm.
I don't got a problem with it. That was cool.
Yeah.
That's a Leon line. That was cool.
The character switch, you know what I mean? Like where again, the expectation is like he's the Joker, and then the director pulls that from you. Like, you don't get to have this. And you know what I mean? As an audience member, you loved him in the first movie. You thought he was the Joker, and he's not. And then the real Joker comes out and kills him and marks up his... I like to think, as a viewer, that Joker that killed him is like Heath Ledger's Joker. You want to know how I got these scars?
You want to know how I got these scars?
He got inspired by Joker to become the Joker.
So how I interpreted it as somebody who's in the industry, I was like, oh, Joaquin doesn't want to do this anymore.
I just thought
He's
it was
out.
like, it's open-ended. It can now, the Joker is whoever you need the Joker to be.
Yeah.
Like that's where it ended for me.
People don't, it's the problem. It's the problem with the size of the franchise, is that these fans,
they don't want the choice to be in their hand.
No, they're lazy.
Yeah.
They want a bow on it. They want,
tell me
Hulk
who
come
the
in and
Joker
smash,
is.
and then Tony Stark is now playing Doctor Doom. That's what they want. People want that. No, I mean, going back to art is art. Whether you like it or not, it's going to be there. You're going to hate it. You're going to like it. It was Rick Rubin that said the best art divides the audience. If it gets a reaction, good. The worst thing that can happen is someone walks out and they say, that was fine.
So there's like a saying, right? That all press is good press. So
I don't know. We should wrestle with that, because is that what I just said?
Essentially, that's my take.
Because I've disagreed with people on that. It's like, well, hold on a second.
Essentially, that's my takeaway. I guess the question would be like, do you think this is a scenario where all the bad press, not right away, but eventually turns it into a really powerful, good thing that lasts the test of time?
Yes. So this is actually something I wanted to talk about and why risk pays off over time. Because if you take a risk, you're basically going out of your comfort zone. You're doing something in the unknown, and that in the short term may never fare well. You may not be congratulated with it. There's tons of times over the history where movies have come out and people are like, "Oh no, that was okay. It was fine." And then or I didn't really like that too much. That was weird.
Mm.
And then time, who's the greatest test of all. Excuse me, my cat's trying to get in here. The greatest test, and it will fare that it turns out it fared well. Like it is now a classic. It is something that needs to be sorry, my cat wants to get in here.
If you can't
Yo,
hear
keep
it,
going.
for the people at home, if you can't hear it, his cat is right outside the podcast studio door, just meowing. Nope, and running away. You tried. That's the play-by-play. He opened the door. The cat's looking at him. He's like, "Come in," and then it just runs off.
Risk over the long run. Yeah, no, I think people will look back on this, and yeah, I think long-term benefits will come into play here.
You know, an
Of embracing
example
risk.
of that, like that over a long duration of
Yeah.
time that is actually kind of recent was from Star Wars. It was the first three films, not the first three
Yes.
films, but like episode
The
1, 2,
Phantom
and
Menace.
3, right? Those came out. People were like, "These are awful. If you don't like Star Wars, if you like there's a lot of pushback on that." And then when they're now releasing the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and they're
Mhm.
bringing Hayden Christensen back as Darth Vader, and they're doing tours, and people are just losing their mind
Yeah.
because the audience that were younger when those movies came out grew up with that Star Wars, and now they're adults, and now that's their Star Wars that they know
Sure.
being brought back to them. I'm sure it's a similar feeling with like some of the new stuff they're doing with TV where they're bringing like Luke Skywalker back. Some of the older Star Wars fans probably feel the same amount of giddiness.
Yeah.
But like when those movies came out, trash, everyone was saying. And
You're
then
so right.
now it's like, oh, Hayden Christensen, he's such a gem.
That's a perfect example. That's a really good example,
Yeah.
Mike. Good for you. I almost want to like
Just want to sit in it for a
raise
minute?
your pay or something, dude.
Please, yes.
I'm gonna raise your pay, man.
Okay,
That's
great.
that was such a perfect example. I'm trying to rap. I'm gonna rap real quick. I'm trying to rack through my brain a little bit and see if I can come up with any other examples through music, like something that was dropped and then it was like everyone hated it and then went back to it years later. And they're
I don't
like,
know any mainstream
Mainstream
stuff.
stuff?
But like there's
Radiohead,
oh, did they do
Kid A.
Okay.
When that dropped, people were like, "This isn't Radiohead."
Mm.
And then now it's like one of my favorite albums. That's just me personally.
I don't know
maybe.
that album. I have to listen to that album.
Maybe it's not called Kid A, but Kid A is the song that's on that album.
Mm.
But yeah, over the long term, I think if you embrace risk regularly, you'll be rewarded. It'll lead to opportunities, more authentic, creative. We talked a lot about authenticity in our last podcast, the power of putting yourself out there on social media and being vulnerable and authentic. Taking a risk is that too,
Do you think I'm sure, but I'm sure they did, but like Todd Phillips, like he knew he was taking a risk. He acknowledged he was. What do you think the benefit in his mind was? Like, if I pull this off, this happens. Like why do you think he's taking that risk? Is it just because, you kind of alluded to it earlier. Is it just because like you want to do something different?
I think yeah, I don't know. I haven't thought about it in that way. What do you think Todd was up to on this? Because trying to recreate the same movie, and I don't mean plot and everything, but kind of follow a similar formula. I don't know how that's gonna. I don't know if he's that kind of. He just seems like the kind of guy that just follows his own.
Yeah, I think he just. It reads to me like he just wants to see more depth out of the character, like dig a little deeper. That's the things the statements that were coming out from him and from Joaquin were like, we had more to explore with the character. The reason why we did it is we felt we had more. There was more
Oh,
left.
is that what? Okay.
Yeah. And so if they felt they had more left, to me, I mean, I know I said earlier, like, oh, they wanted to go win the Academy Award for Best Musical. Like, I don't know that that's true. I think that
God, that would make me so happy.
it would be amazing.
What an ego on the guy, right? Just like we won Best Lead Actor. We got nominated for Best Film. We're going for costuming and we're going for musical now in the Tony.
I think they just wanted to showcase like the artwork of how intricate someone who's struggling's mind is, and how nuanced and beautiful that person could think it is, and how chaotic and maybe horrific it actually is from another perspective.
I loved it. I loved that Arthur Fleck in his mind is constantly hearing music, and especially when things in reality the stakes are so high and things could never be worse off for him in his position, and the music just gets louder and more grandiose, and he's now on stage at the Murray Show. By the way, best sequence in the entire movie is when he's tap dancing and he's in that club, or no, he's on the trial, right? And he's in front of the jurors. I thought that, talking about taking a risk and it standing the test of time, that right there is going to fare well. Mark my words. That right there. Oh, I was watching it in awe. I was like, this is the best. Everything in that entire sequence that they shot, I thought was chef's kiss.
Okay, how many tomatoes? How many Rotten Tomatoes? How many tomatoes? How many? What was the Rotten Tomatoes score?
32.
32. And what tomato score? How many tomatoes would you give it?
So I said I liked it.
Yeah.
You said you loved it.
Yeah.
I'm going on record. Andrew Romano's giving Joker. Let me just trying to remember what I liked about it.
We just talked about for the last. Trying to remember.
Hold on, dude. There's some stuff that I didn't talk about. I'll give it an 82.679.
Do you want to know the number I was going to give?
You better not give it anything over 9.
82.652.
But you loved it.
I know.
I liked it.
So you must have loved it.
No, I got to switch my scale.
No.
You think I go down, Leon? Probably 78 then.
No. Don't let him go down.
78%.
78. You said
the thing
82.
I didn't like.
Your score was higher than mine.
I shouldn't have been.
You loved it.
No, I didn't love it.
I
liked it. I think part of the reason I liked it so much is because Todd, we're going to keep calling him Todd, took such a huge swing at it. And I recognize that. I see that and I applaud it. Even if it doesn't work out the way that he wanted it to. And I would love to ask him how he's doing with all of this. I'm sure he's fine. I'm sure he's been in the business long enough to see certain things go his way, not go his way. But this is in such a massive scale with such a massive appeal of people for them to all unanimously say, we don't like it. But, that's what happens.
I wonder when he watched the final cut before it got released, I hope that he was like, yeah, this is it. I like this.
There's something so special about that. If he, I don't know. I'm taking whatever your fantasy is that he was doing, and I'm running with it.
Yeah.
I wonder how special is it that this man, first of all, to a risky project like this, to pitch it to the studios, and then to pitch it to the actors. Hey, Joaquin, I know you're not like a singer, but you're going to be singing with Lady Gaga.
But see, that's not risk. That's not risk in the same way. And I mean, yes, it's risk. It's risk that they're singing, but you're going, hey, A-list actor Joaquin, A-list actress now, and musician Lady Gaga. Like you're not risking a whole lot with those two behind the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're risking with the concept of the movie.
Yeah.
But the studio just sees Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga, and they got to sing. Yeah. All right, that'll pay.
You might be right. But there's something special, I think, about him just doing it for himself and just letting the reactions and the outcomes just be and still be,
Unless he didn't tell them it was a musical either.
That's hilarious. If that's the case, good on you, Todd. Take back your power. Take your agency.
I'll show them.
Here's the thing. We're talking about risks paying off. Some of the payoffs from risk would be if you take a risk and it works out, you gain a level of confidence, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you also expand your breadth of creativity, maybe more in tap with your authenticity and you're not as maybe afraid the next time. Goes back to that confidence thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you take a risk and it doesn't go your way, kind of like Todd, I mean, how do you deal with that? I mean, what are some things that for you personally, do you have any advice? If Todd's on the phone right now in the Rotary, what would you say to Todd?
I don't know. It's funny. We were just talking about this last week about developing thick skin,
Mm-hmm.
and I know you didn't like that phrase. You actually phrased it a different way, I think. But you said coat of armor. Developing a coat of armor.
I like that much better.
Obviously that's the easy advice. I'm not sure. I mean, that's to me. I would just divert back to like, don't look at the comments, Todd.
Yeah.
Don't look at the YouTube comments.
Learn from your mistakes, I guess.
I guess you have to lean. If you're somebody of that stature doing a project that big, with that much importance and weight, like you don't look at you're not going to, I doubt you're going to learn what to change about your film from the YouTube comments, but you likely have a circle of people around you that you trust and that make you better. And so leaning on those people, for guidance or for thought.
It reminds me, George Lucas and Steven Spielberg used to go into each other's editing rooms when they were cutting their films, and they would be, when they were about to take a risk or they didn't know what to do, they needed some advice, they would kind of lean on each other. So if you have a Spielberg in your life, or somebody, a close companion that you work with that you'd love to get their eyes on this thing, then if you're taking a risk, I think so, because they'll at least recognize what you're doing. If you're taking a swing and you need somebody there to be like, go for it. Yeah. Or let's see what happens, and if it fails and it flops, that's fine too. I mean, that's I think part of the beauty of it, because then you get to see what worked, if anything worked, if it didn't. But I kind of love what Gaga said, it's just like immerse yourself in the unknown, because what is there really any other way to kind of do it? I mean,
no, you just got to do the thing that you want to do. If you have a work that you have to do artistically, like you just got to do it, and you got to do it the way that you want to do it, and not let anyone stifle it.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't risk anything, you risk even more.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, I guess, this is a short podcast because I just wanted to rant about Joker 2 with you. And I wanted to talk about risk and let us know in the comments, what did you think about Joker 2? Or if you didn't like our position, tell us about it.
That's right. Or and we can compile all the comments and we'll send them to Todd. We'll text them over.
Well, I'll text them on the Rotary. Yeah. Anything else, Mike?
No, I think that's it. I loved the movie, and I'm probably going to go see it again.
I liked the movie, and I really want to go check out that sequence. That jury sequence is going to hold up. It's going to stand the test of time. I'm telling you, it's such a good sequence. I'm out.
Peace.
Peace.